I'm just glad that the assassination was done by a white person and not an immigrant, because that
Mm.
would have followed immigrants for years. And because the person was white, it would be out of the news cycle within 6 months. So
Yeah, and the other thing I find interesting is that Democrats always have this trump card, no pun intended,
Yes.
which is that listen, if you don't vote for us, who are you going to vote for?
I don't think the Republicans are caught off guard. I think this is their communication strategy to make seem like a really bad choice because
Mhm.
it seems the Democrats don't have their house in order and some.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I wonder if Kamala Harris will be how specifically she will be different. Kind of like Biden's protege, she superficially should be very similar. You would expect, right?
Which I think you're starting to raise a very interesting question. How much difference should we expect between a Kamala
Hmm.
Harris and a Biden administration? If I'm an American and you tell me if I can vote and you tell me that we're going to get another 4 years of Biden
Mm,
through Kamala, I would say
mhm,
no to that. I would not
mm,
vote for it. I would
mm, mm,
say, hey, I don't want another 4 years of pretty much what felt, particularly during
mm,
the last 2 years, and this is what people will be feeling right now,
mhm,
like a recession. It's been the
mm,
last two
mhm.
years have felt like a recession in the U.S. The economy, the jobs aren't getting created. There's a slowdown. The jobs that are getting created aren't high value jobs. It's not that there are no
Right,
jobs. The jobs are
right.
there. They're not high value jobs. It's like
Mm,
people are being with master's degrees are being asked to work at McDonald's.
right,
That doesn't
right,
fly, with people.
right,
So
right, right, right. Yeah, and the other thing I find interesting is that Democrats always have this trump card, no pun intended,
yes,
which is that listen, if you don't vote for us, who are you going to vote for? Are you just not going to vote, or are you going to vote for Trump? Because both of those choices are exactly the same. We are the only ones who are actually going to look after your, civil rights and other democratic institutions.
yes.
So they always have like this ace up their sleeve. If anybody says that, I'm not going to vote for the Democrats.
So I think this is a great start point for us to start on
Yeah,
a slightly different topic, which
true,
is
true.
let's take an opportunity to dive
Mhm.
deeper into Trump versus Kamala Harris, like side
True,
to
true.
side. Because what we've done previously is discuss just Kamala Harris on her own and her in the context of Biden. But what about a
Mm.
face off against Trump? How
Head,
would
head,
she
head to
fare
head. Yeah.
head to head? How would she fare in a debate?
Mm,
What
mm,
points should she be wary of that Trump might bring up? And what points should she bring up against Trump so that she
mhm,
can uh, win that, and vice versa? What should Trump
mhm.
bring up against Kamala Harris, and what should he be wary of? Mavish, why don't we start on your side?
I think Kamala's strategy would just be to mention Trump University, his multiple indictments. Like as a prosecutor, like she would
Mhm,
have the experience to come back at him with all
mhm,
of the things that he needs to work on. But the better strategy for her would be to mention that, but then also to come out as the candidate with her own issues, right? And why she would
mhm,
be different than Biden. Because it's very clear that the American people, as you said, are not happy with Biden. That's why, in a way, yes, he was not coherent. He had other issues, but that's one of the reasons why he stepped down. He wasn't going to be president for another 4 years. He knew that.
mhm,
So in my opinion, she's going to come at him, and Trump would probably be very worried for that. And there's a question online right now: will Trump even show up to the next
mhm.
debate because of that?
Well,
And
the Republicans were caught off guard, apparently, from all reports. So because Biden kept saying for weeks and weeks that, folks, I said that I'm going to run in this election and I'm going to win this election in November. You can take that to the bank, kind of a thing, right? But all of a sudden, right after the Republican National Convention, he suddenly did a 180 and he said that. I'm dropping out and I'm fully endorsing Harris. And the Republicans were completely caught off guard. And, they had been gleefully supporting Biden, saying that, yes, Biden should run. He should be the Democratic nominee because they had tuned their entire campaign to be against Trump against Biden. But when Biden dropped out and endorsed Harris, they were completely dumbfounded, and they started crying about that the Democrats just pulled off the most dangerous coup in American history.
Yeah,
You thought
but
January 6th was bad. That was nothing compared to what they just did.
yeah, no, I agree with I get that, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's an election. You should be ready for
Yeah.
any sort of thing that comes your way. There's a YouTuber, I'll
Oh, legal,
link
eagle.
Legal, yeah, and
He's really good.
he's really good, and he the moment Kamala Harris was put as the next nominee, he had posted a video within a couple of hours, and it's because he knew this would happen
Mm,
at some point, so he
mm,
probably pre-recorded it and
mm,
then
mm,
just edited a bit and then posted it later. And that to me is like, it's to a degree, most people after especially the debate assume that he
mm,
would drop down despite of what he's saying. He would have
mm.
dropped out. And so if people know that he at some point are going to drop out
Yeah.
Right.
and that like why aren't you prepared for that situation?
Mm,
So I would push back to both of you. I don't think that being prepared and having a communication strategy where it says, oh, this is worse than January 6th are
mm,
mutually exclusive. You
mm,
can be completely prepared and your
mm,
strategy can be, hey, we were caught off guard because this has never happened before.
mm,
It's
mm,
sensational and it's
mm,
negative sensational. So I
mm,
don't think the Republicans are caught off guard. I think this is their communication strategy to make seem like a really bad choice because
mm,
it seems the Democrats don't have their house in order and they haven't gone through a nomination process. So
mm.
it just makes the Democratic Party look bad, and that's what they're trying to do. Keep in mind, in the eyes of their voters, that strategy is perfect, and that's who they're trying to resonate with.
Well, in the eyes of Fox News viewers, if you feed them carefully crafted propaganda, then they're going to believe that.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So I'm saying this, it's,
Mm,
I'm going to push back and say maybe they were prepared and this is their
mm,
communication strategy. It puts the heat off of Trump in terms of like the January 6th thing, because
mm,
now they're able to make a kind of a correlation between what's happened with Kamala and this switchover and the January 6th thing. So they're trying to, I think it's just their communication strategy. They're not caught off guard.
mm,
It's
mhm,
what they
mhm, mhm.
decided to do because they knew this was going to happen, and this is what they figured was the best way to move Trump's campaign forward.
So, what did Legal Eagle say? Sorry, I didn't. I don't exactly remember. Although I did, I promise I clicked on the video and started watching it. Uh, was he talking about like the Republicans are threatening to sue Kamala Harris from being on the ballots? Was that it?
He talked about a bunch of well-researched topics. We can link the video in the
Mm,
chat. But at the time, he assumed that Kamala would be the candidate, the nominee. Again, it was pretty obvious he pre-recorded it.
mm,
And he was talking more about how the campaign funds would be distributed, what kind of candidate she would be. So that's like a whole other sort of thing there. So I would encourage people to just, watch that as
mm.
well if they want additional context. But
We should link to that. Yeah.
yeah, but at the end of the day, this is something Trump was also. I think he had put a request into the committee to get those funds to remove the access Kamala has to those funds. But once she became elected, she gained about I don't know. I'll put the exact number on screen, but I think it was around $100 million within a few couple of days of just raising her own campaign funds. So even if she lost the money that Biden's campaign had, she has enough. Funds there. So any attempt that Trump is going to make to discredit her, unless the Democrats don't give her nomination, the Democratic convention, like she would be the next nominee. Like I don't think there's any argument there
No,
because
Yeah.
she's the next nominee. I do want to come back to that original question that I had, and let me reframe that question and first throw it to Yavor, first you now. When the Democratic primaries took place in 2021, Kamala Harris was also part of the primaries. Tulsi Gabbard took 5 minutes to completely dismantle her. She went from some polling somewhere in the 4, 7, 8% mark to like literally dropping to 1%, and her campaign was over that day.
Mhm.
Tulsi Gabbard is a smart speaker, but Trump destroys people in debates. So
Mhm.
my question again would be: there's a debate in September. I'm sure
Mhm.
we're going to do an episode about it when
Yeah.
September rolls around. What are your thoughts right now on how Kamala should handle that particular debate with Trump? I think that Trump versus Kamala debate will be key
Well,
in votes
I
for
think first she will need to convince Trump to actually do the debate because he's saying now he's not going to do it.
assume that it's going to happen. I think
Mhm.
that's just stepping away from the question. I don't think
Mhm. Mhm.
I have heard statements from the Trump campaign,
Mhm.
or from
Mhm.
the media, from the Trump campaign, where they have
Mhm.
said directly, "Bring her
Mhm.
on." So this
Mhm.
is just, again, I don't trust
Mhm.
everything that the media says.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't believe that that's the case.
Mhm.
Let's assume that in September there's a date for the campaign.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's assume that the debate is happening.
Right.
How should each participant prepare, especially keeping in mind that
Mhm.
Tulsi thing that I mentioned earlier?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what Tulsi Gabbard said, but of course, Trump is going to go for crooked Joe Biden's weak points. He's going to regurgitate whatever
Yeah.
strategies he built up against Joe Biden, and he's going to say that Kamala Harris is going to do the same thing. Why is she any different? So you shouldn't vote for her because she's going to be exactly like crooked Joe Biden.
So let me tell you what
Mm,
Tulsi said. Tulsi, because
mm,
takes 1 minute.
mm,
She brought up the history of prosecution
mm,
that Kamala has against people of color
mm, mm,
for drug offenses in
mm,
California.
mm,
And then she brought up that some of those people had been sent there for 20 years on very minor
mm,
offenses. And
mm,
then she brought up that Kamala Harris was asked if she'd had ever smoked pot, and she had in college,
mm,
and she
mm,
laughed it off, keeping in mind that at the same time people were 20 years in jail because of her,
mm,
uh, for doing the same thing. So
mm,
that's essentially the core. And then Tulsi said, "How can we trust somebody like this?"
mm,
So
mm,
that's the core of what how she dismantled.
mm. That's a good strategy against Kamala. It could be, but then again, Kamala might have in the 4 years since then, she might have come up with some details or some points which people didn't realize at the time. Like she might have had circumstances which caused her to pursue those kinds of sentencing. Maybe the reporting was not as accurate as people thought. But in any case, I don't think that that's going to be Trump's approach. His approach has never been to get technical into the details and get stuck in like the mud of the technical details.
He just needs to coin one term which
Yeah,
brings, like he did with Crooked Joe, or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with
Of
Hillary,
course.
which references, and he's going in the debate, he's going to bring up that term again and again and again,
Yeah, of course.
just to make sure
He
people connect
he
back.
will he will say things which are very very sound bite worthy, so he's
Yes.
going to say things which can be clipped and played over and over again. uh
And you
he-
understand why I bring up this
mhm.
question. It is a genuine concern. Like if
Yeah,
Kamala can't get over that hump, she's
yeah,
not getting elected, in my opinion.
right. She definitely has her work cut out for her. She has to, come up with strategies and tactics which will cut him off at the knee, right, so to speak. Obviously, I don't mean
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
in real physical terms. I'm talking about in the debate stage.
We should be careful
Uh,
after the assassination.
yeah, yeah, yeah. People are accusing Joe Biden of ordering the assassination because he said that we have to put him on the we have to
Yeah,
put him in
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah. Next thing we know,
in this.
FBI is knocking at your door. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
well,
exactly.
the thing is, I'm just glad that the assassination was done by a white person and not an immigrant, because that
Mm,
would have followed immigrants for years. And because the person was white, it would be out of the news cycle within 6 months. So, uh,
within
Yeah, I
Six
mean,
days.
6 days, yes.
Nobody remembers the assassin attempt now. It's completely gone.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's completely gone, but at the end of the day, and I know Trump will probably bring it up
Oh,
in
he
the
will bring it up. He's going back to
Last
Butler,
topic
Pennsylvania
discussed in,
to
in
do another
podcast
rally.
these days, is the last topic discussed in podcast before the podcast
Hmm.
ends, which is very meta for me to say this because I think we're about on time for this podcast as well.
True, true.
Yeah, definitely. I think just the way that immigrants are talked about when something wrong happens in these types of
Mhm.
elections is just mind-boggling. And I don't know why Kamala Harris is not taking advantage of her roots
Yeah.
to seem like a more thorough, well-rounded candidate rather than just speaking off of Biden's shoulders and just being a second-born immigrant who's taken to a stage like this. I don't know why she's not taking advantage of that and maybe trying to explain why she made the decisions in her career that she did, as Nabil
Mhm.
mentioned. So it's just a bit strange the way she's doing. But again, like you said, Yawar, she has 100 days to
And
change our
eff-
minds.
effectively, she's just begun, and she has to, spend these 100 days really wisely. She cannot get stuck in petty arguments about like, oh, this particular case, I did it like this because of this and that reason. She has to go at a higher level, so
Yeah,
it's very tricky
win
for her.
narrative.
Yeah. Well, this was a very interesting chat, and I know we're going to monitor the news cycle and see what other challenges come up for both candidates. But I hope everybody enjoyed this explosive conversation and stay tuned for better listens.
Again,
And
only figuratively explosive, not literally.
Yeah, yeah, but you're stepping into really dangerous territory there.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We might need to hire the legal eagle soon.
Yes, exactly. But that was a side immigrant joke, and I hope our listeners get it. Yeah, I really hope to see more things from Kamala Harris, and stay tuned for what we talk about next because it's definitely going to be figuratively explosive.
Literally.